And you did mention Dickens on the Strand, which is one of my favorite holiday events in Galveston. And this year will be its 51st year. So for those, I know you've been to Galveston. Galveston Strand, it's historic district where Dickens on the Strand takes place. It's just is flanked by Victorian architecture. So the women are wearing big dresses with tulle and those hoops, and then men are in top hats. There's a town crier. Some of the children are street urchins. There are bell choirs. There's bagpipe parades. It's truly, and it's just one weekend a year. So this year it's December 6th through 8th. It's always the first weekend in December.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Spotlight Houston, where we bring you the best of the people, places, and events in the greater Houston area. This week we sat down with Beth Basset with Visit Galveston to talk about all the things that are happening there for the holiday season. This is episode 112 with an original air date of Monday, November 18th, 2024. And now your host, Blanca Quezada.
I'm so excited because this is my favorite time of the year. I mean, I know it's still hot out there, but it's kind of starting to cool off a little bit. But still, it's my favorite time of the year because of the holidays and all the amazing events that are coming up, like putting up the Christmas tree, putting up the Christmas lights, the food, celebrating our different traditions, getting together with friends, or maybe just by yourself, spending some quality time alone. Maybe reading a good book, watching a holiday movie or movies, and eating whatever it is you want. But don't forget the hot chocolate or the apple cider or whatever your favorite drink is. Maybe a margarita. I don't know. I love seeing all the holiday decorations as well. And it's just a fun time. The lights, the music too. I forgot about that, but I love the music. And anyway, there's just so much going on. But I wanted to let you know that one of my favorite places is having a lot of events, and that's Galveston. And they know how to entertain. They know how to do the holidays. And so this year promises to be better than last year. They actually, just found out that they will be celebrating 50 days of Christmas and holiday magical experiences. And I can't wait for that. And so I've invited my good friend, my best friend now, Beth Basset. She is the Senior Public Relations for the Galveston Island Convention and Visitors Bureau. And she's going to let us know what all we can expect to see and be doing. And I know that coming up in a couple of weekends is going to be Dickens on the Strand. So, Mary, thank you so much for taking the time to join me and tell me all that's going on, because I know you're a very busy lady. Especially now, you've got a lot to do.
Galveston Island doesn't slow down. So we come off of summer, we go into fall festival season. And then, Blanca, we have sort of packaged holiday events and activities, and we are calling it Winter Wonder Island. So actually, it started November 8th with the Railroad Museum kicking off the Polar Express. So I'm sure you've seen the movie or read the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. But kids and adults, they're encouraged to wear their jammies, and they board a train and they go to the North Pole. They see Santa, and that iconic scene where they're passing around the hot chocolate and cookies, dancing through the train. So the kids can truly experience that. So that's happening right now. And you mentioned,
so where did they go? I mean, they go to this train museum and then they go from there to where in Galveston?
Well, it's like a back and forth, but you really feel like you're traveling, and it's a magical experience because there's some special effects and some really great actors singing and dancing and sort of reimagining the movie and the story. So children especially, but if you're a kid at heart, you'll appreciate it a lot too.
Yeah. So it's for the young and the young at heart.
Exactly. And I think the holidays, we're all young at heart, right?
Definitely.
There's
I know I am.
right, me too.
Me too.
And you did mention Dickens on the Strand, which is one of my favorite holiday events in Galveston. And this year will be its 51st year. So for those, I know you've been to Galveston. Galveston Strand, it's a historic district where Dickens on the Strand takes place. It's just is flanked by Victorian architecture. So you can kind of picture New Orleans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So wrought iron and balconies and buildings from the 1800s, early 1900s. Well, just add into that people dressed in Charles Dickens era clothing. So the women are wearing big dresses with tulle and those hoops. And then men are in top hats. There's a town crier. Some of the children are street urchins. There are bell choirs, there's bagpipe parades. It's truly, and it's just one weekend a year. So this year it's December 6th through 8th. It's always the first weekend in December. So it's amazing. And it looks so appropriate to happen in downtown Galveston.
Yeah, I love it. I've gone before, and it's like you're stepping back in time.
Exactly.
It's this, I don't know how y'all do it, but it's not just the costumes, but it's the whole sensation of it, because even people that are going to the event are dressed up, and their women are wearing the bonnets, and the men have the canes, and they're all dressed up.
And I think it slightly changes your personality. I mean, it's like when you dress up in a costume like that,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I stop to talk like an English person when I'm, you can't help it. So, and several of Charles Dickens' relatives come every year. So this year there will be 3 great grandchildren who will
Wow.
participate in the festivities, and they'll do readings of A Christmas Carol. I mean, it makes your on the back of my neck stick up. I mean, and they really enjoy coming. So they like to be a part of this.
So when are they doing that, and where?
They will do it throughout the festival. The best way to go is dickensonthestrand.org or galvestonhistory.org to find out the full schedule. Because the Queen's Parade, there's all bed races, there's all kinds of things. But just come the entire time. It's fine. And then food. I don't know if you like people around our work meeting table were raving about the famous Scotch egg that they serve at Dickens. Are you a fan? Yeah. So it's a boiled egg wrapped in sausage, breaded and fried. And they sell them at vendor stands during Dickens on the Strand, and they are a hot commodity.
Yeah, and you have to share them.
Yes.
I also like the smell of the apple cider, or the
smell a lot like Christmas when you get it right.
Yeah, and even the music. You have the area is so large. You have music in different areas, different groups or bands.
Yes, there are several stages. There are concerts, like student choirs will perform, and they'll parade I think there are at least 2 parades a day, but they'll also perform at various sites downtown. It's just really fun. And then you see the banners like women's right to vote. And then you figure this is that time in history where it's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can relive that as well.
Yeah.
That's coming up. Go
Are
ahead.
you still having the carriages and the horses around?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes. The Queen definitely practices her wave and is escorted through town on the horses and carriage.
I mean, and even if it rains, you still have it, right?
Definitely. It's rain or shine. I mean, I recall maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I mean, it was torrential rain, and it probably wouldn't have been safe. And all that velvet would have just been.
Oh, yeah, forget it.
Forget it. So they handled it for the next weekend. But as long as it's doable, I mean, because people who lived in England couldn't stay inside if it were raining.
Right.
Yeah. And
So you take your parasol. You take your parasol.
Exactly. The whole point. Right. You got it. You got it, Wanda.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, definitely. I mean, once you cross those gates, you're in like stepping into a time capsule to me anyway.
Exactly. Yes, you're in another time, in another country, and it's
Yeah.
really fun.
Yeah. And of course, besides the booths that are around, you can buy a lot of holiday gifts there as well.
Absolutely. There's a lot of locally owned shops that line the Strand. There's a store that's called Strand Brass slash Christmas on the Strand. So they sell Christmas items year round. So I'm sure they're popular during this event. But, tea towels, ornaments, seashell starfish that you can hang on your tree to remind you of your visit to Galveston, all there, and you can get a lot of your shopping done because by the time you get to Dickens on the Strand, you're a little less than 3 weeks away from Christmas. So
Yes,
wrap it up.
I've done that before. Will the restaurants be open?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. So everything from fancier places like Riondo, and then there's Shark Shack where you can get a sandwich, just pop in, Hearsay on the Strand, Hubcap Grill. There are so many that are Sugar and Rye is a new one that's nice, that's a little removed from the festival site. And I feel bad because I should mention 100 more, but
Yeah.
there are too many to mention, which is
Yeah.
a problem to have, right?
Yeah. I just thought about this. If we want to go in costume, is there anywhere where we can rent a costume?
I'll have to find that out for you because I know there was a store and then there was a change in ownership. So I'm not sure about that. But I will tell you that if you dress in costume, and you'll get 50% off the gate.
Oh, that's
And yeah, and if you do a little research, you'll see that it doesn't take much to dress as a Victorian. But I enjoy seeing younger kids. My daughter's a middle school teacher, and some of her students will just put on a white shirt, black and a hat, and then put ashes on their face and be like street urchins. That's a really simple costume.
yeah.
And then there's a steampunk element that kind of enters in, especially with the bed races that take place on the Sunday. So that's always fun to watch.
So what time does the festival start?
On Saturday, it is from 10 to 6, and then Sunday it's from noon to 6. Friday night is 7 to 9.
So you can be there all day, have breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes, you can. So yes,
Yay.
for Friday 5 to 9, I'm sorry, Saturday is 10 to 9. So you have all day. So you can go to some of the vendors, you can pop into a restaurant, and then Sunday is from 12 to 6 with the bed
Yeah.
races beginning at 4:30.
Yeah. I like being there during the day, but at night it's just absolutely beautiful with
Mhm.
the candles and the lanterns and music. And I don't know, like I'm going to say it again. I just feel like I'm transported to a different country and it's a
Yeah.
different time.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
And
I
that's
love it.
great. Yeah, and we're happy that you feel that way because I think that's the intent. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so when I go there, I don't want to come back.
Aw, good. Don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, oh man, I got to go back to reality.
Very fun weekend. So I encourage your
Yeah.
listeners to join us.
Yeah. And I know that you also, I know we've been talking about Christmas stuff, but you also do Thanksgiving, which is just coming up.
Yes, absolutely. Several restaurants and attractions have specials for Thanksgiving. So you'll find Thanksgiving brunches. The best way to look at that, and honestly, we're getting information every day with our partners telling us what they're offering. So go to visitgalveston.com and you'll find out information about that. But right before Thanksgiving, so on the 23rd of November, a lot of other holiday events kick off. And specifically those at Moody Gardens. And I think we talked about that last week, that Festival of Lights, ICE LAND, those events at Moody Gardens are just, I mean, if you can take some time, maybe during the week, because the kids are out of school during Thanksgiving break, make a trip to the island, stay at Moody Gardens Hotel, visit the aquarium or the rainforest, and then go into Iceland. Do you know about Iceland?
No, I've never been.
Okay. So Iceland is housed in this huge tent, a white tent in one of the main parking lots at Moody Gardens. And they crank the temperature down to 9 degrees.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And they bring in 2 million pounds of ice, colored ice,
Oh,
and we bring in ice carvers from China to carve those colorful pieces of ice into this wonderland. This year, it's pole to pole, from the South Pole to the North Pole. So you'll see polar bears and penguins and all kinds of wildlife carved out into colorful ice sculptures. And so you walk through this. Thankfully, they hand you a parka
oh, great.
where you walk in.
Well, I think I would need 2 parkas.
But it is amazing what
I
it looks like.
I've only seen pictures, just images of certain sections, but I've never been there. But I
Mhm.
hear it's supposed to be better this year. It
Oh,
gets
yes,
better
every
every
year.
year.
Yes, every year I think they kind of do it. Everyone does a debrief, and it's like, what
Yeah.
could make this better? And
Yeah.
should we keep the slide? Of course, you keep the ice slide. Should we
Yeah.
keep the Shivers ice bar and serve drinks in glasses made out of ice? Of course, we should do that. Yes. So
Yeah.
they have different themes every year, and it's just, I mean, kids are enamored, adults too. I mean, it's cold, but it's very fun and very beautiful. And the fact that so in Harbin, China, they transform their entire city into something that resembles Iceland. So ours is a microcosm, but you can definitely appreciate the craftsmanship and the art that goes into making this temporary display that is just really beautiful and fascinating.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, the kids have a lot of fun because they also have a very special area for them as well.
Yes, they do. And so at the visitor center, they can meet Santa. There are holiday themed movies. They can go meet a penguin. There's an ice skating rink. Who would have thought an ice skating rink
Right.
right next to the bay in Galveston?
Yeah, in the middle of Galveston.
We make it happen. So
Yeah.
yeah, it truly is a fun place. I don't think people associate Christmas and holiday with a visit to the beach, but here we are. There's so much to do. Give it a
Yeah.
try. And I think you'll find that bringing your
Yeah.
family, staying in a vacation house on the beach is a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
Build a sandman instead of a snowman.
Yeah. And you're also having a scavenger hunt, right?
Yes, that's what Dickens is doing that. They're having a scavenger hunt. Yes, and Visit Galveston is having a scavenger hunt as well. And just again, go to visitgalveston.com and you'll find out because you get credit for the boxes you check off, and then you get a nice postcard that you can send to a family member or friend. And you can also deposit your letter to Santa at our visitor center.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about the Galveston's official tree lighting because it looks like I've only seen images, I've never been, but it looks like it's a small town gathering where people wait for the Christmas tree to be lit and there's booths and everything around there as well. And music.
Yes, I mean, it's very nice because in Sangerfest Park, which is central downtown, so you'll see the mural that's greetings from Galveston, and then we light the official Galveston Christmas tree. And I'll have to get back to you on the date. I don't know it right away, but
It's on your website, I'm sure.
absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And it's usually around 6 to 8. Santa comes through on a fire truck. I mean, it's hometown, but I've been kind of watching Hallmark movies, and I feel like they could film one here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Galveston isn't that large. It's really
No, it's not. It's like 53,000 people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get millions of visitors a year. So
Yeah.
we're happy for them. So.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful every time I go. Just
When was the last time
right
you went?
around. Last year.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And also tell us about this. I didn't know that you guys did the holiday with the cranes. What is that?
Yes. So twice a year, let me just back up. So Galveston is on a migration route for hundreds of bird species. So spring, they fly towards us, and the fall, they kind of fly away, or I'm getting it backwards, but hundreds of bird species. So this is their resting stop on their migration path. And sandhill cranes are among the birds who come, and starting in December, and actually seen some of my Facebook friends just post in the last day or two some photos of sandhill cranes on the west end of the island, which is like west of the seawall. And I'll tell you, I live on the west end, and I was driving to work after lunch one day. And you know how when you see something out of your peripheral vision
Mm-hmm.
and you have to look over, it was a sandhill crane, and I didn't realize how tall they stood. I mean, they're 4 feet tall. So
Wow.
the purpose of Holiday with the Crane is to like be among this group, and the Galveston Island Nature Tourism Council hosts the event, and they know where they're likely to be, and then they will help attendees take photos and interact with those majestic birds that are just tall and beautiful and are only here for a brief amount of time.
They sound like they are, like they're gorgeous.
Yes, yes.
So you mentioned tours. So will Galveston be having tours this season so that people can go around the historic area and maybe around other areas of Galveston? Because it's all historic, basically.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And thanks for bringing that up. And we tend to think of the haunted time of year as Halloween and maybe it's gone. But because Galveston's historic and it's been through the 1900 storm, which was the deadliest natural disaster, we believe, many believe, that there are some restless souls still kind of walking around Galveston. So there are several tour guides who will take you through those haunted sites. And one of them is
I'm
Kathleen.
sure, especially the cemeteries, right?
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Yes, Kathleen Macca. She provides cemetery tours, and she has the stories behind some of the gravestones. And when you pay attention, you're like, why did those two people die on the exact same day? It's like, oh, because their mother poisoned them. I mean, it's crazy stories here in Galveston. And there's red light tours. Galveston is still a thriving port, but back in the day, it was a thriving port, and there may have been some hanky-panky going on. So there was a red light district, and there are some stories that emanate from that part of our history. There's an immigration history. So there's an immigration tour. Hal Needham, called Hurricane Hal, he does storm tours, 1900 storm tours, where he'll take you to the markers, and the seawall is basically built as a response to the 1900 storm. So 125 years later, it's still serving to protect the island.
Right. And of course, the boat tours.
Oh, yes, harbor tours.
I mean, there's all this water out there. You got to have boat tours.
Yes. Oh my gosh, too many tours. Yes. So there are harbor tours that leave out of where the tall ship Alyssa is. Have you been to the tall ship?
No, I haven't. I've been to the Alyssa, but I haven't been to those other
Yeah,
boats.
that's it. Yeah, the Alyssa is and the harbor tours kind of leave out of that area, and they take you along the bay and describe the maritime history of Galveston. You'll see some dolphins frolicking in the water. So, I mean, I never get tired of doing those chores. I love it.
And what I like is that the boats are all lit up with Christmas lights.
Yes,
And that
exactly.
makes it special.
Why not? Right?
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure I get this in too. The Grand 1894 Opera House will have the Nutcracker in December. And then during Dickens on the Strand, they will have a Christmas Carol on their stage. So, I mean, just to enhance your holiday, just there you go. Make it a pattern.
Do you have any special music presentations, like a symphony or something?
The Galveston Symphony may perform. I'm not aware right now, but check the Grand 18. It's thegrand.com, and they will have, in addition to the Christmas Carol and the Nutcracker, they'll have some special Christmas performances.
Yeah. Is the hotel the one that's, I lost the name, the historic hotel that's by the water, that's by the seawall?
The Galvez?
Yes, the Galvez. Will they be having anything special for the holidays?
I'm sure they will. I mean, I would go to grandgalvez.com, but I'll tell you, walking in, it's been renovated in the last 2 years, like 2 years ago. And it is If you haven't been to see the renovations, you need to see it. It is opulent and beautiful. And you feel like, again, like we spoke about with Dickens, you feel like you're entering into a different era.
Mhm.
It's very fancy, and there's a reason for everything they did. There's a walkway with black and white polished tile that it's called Peacock Alley, where back in the day in 20s, women would parade through in their finest garb, and then men would sort of watch and decide to ask a lady for a dance or offer her a drink or something. But it's just, I mean, it all has a meaning, and there's a reason for all of the colors they chose, the glass they chose, the marble tile. I mean, it is fantastic.
Yeah, every time I've gone there, I do feel like I've stepped back
Mhm.
in time in there as
Yeah,
well.
and it's also haunted. So there's that.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that. When I was there, I never saw anything or heard anything, but
Okay, good.
yeah, so I was okay.
Okay.
But if we want to get all the details, we can just go on the website or look up the Galvez on their website and get all the information that we need.
Absolutely. I would start with www.visitgalveston.com. And then if you could dig deeper, say into Dickens, you can go to galvestonhistory.org because that's the Galveston Historical Foundation. And Dickens on the Strand is their fundraiser. So they have,
Mhm.
you know, like there are VIP parties, there are extra special events that you can choose to pay for in addition to just celebrating the event.
Yeah. And also, if we want to stay in Galveston for the weekend or for a week or wherever, we can go to visit Galveston and
Yes.
they can help us or it can help us find some place to stay, a hotel or maybe an Airbnb or something like that.
Absolutely. Yes. VisitGalveston.com will have a variety of lodging options. And I know, and I think our whole conversation kind of centers around this, but when holidays equals family, and what's nice about Galveston's offerings is we have about 5,000 vacation rentals, and many of them are on the beach, and they can accommodate 8, 12, 16 people. So it can be grandparents, parents, children, grandchildren. And so you can all be together celebrating the holidays on the beach, doing these fun things that we just talked about.
Yeah, and I think we need to make reservations now because it's gonna get crazy.
Yes, I know. I think we all kind of forget, like, oh, I have time. And it's like, no,
Yeah,
wait.
yeah. Well, with 50 plus events and presentations, it's hard to get into all of them right now because we don't have that much time. But
Right.
I'm sure that we can get on the website and find out when and where and all that, all the details that we need. And of course, trying to find that place to make reservations at now. Because
Yeah.
yeah, Galveston comes, I mean, it's comes to life every day, but during the holidays, I think it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's so
Mhm.
many people. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's fun, and you're at the beach and you're just in a different area. You're not at the mall. You're not. So I don't know. There's just something very special about Galveston, especially during the holiday season.
Well, Mary, can you give us that web address again, please?
Sure, it's www.visitgalveston.com.
Mm.
And that's where you'll find, and then you can just sort of add a keyword search and you'll get to wherever you want to go.
Well, Mary, thank you again for all this fantastic information. I cannot wait. And like I mentioned before, we have to start getting ready now because
Yes.
even though you've had a few events that have already started, but there's plenty more to come. So thank you for everything, for taking your time to be here. And I can't wait. I can't wait.
Good.
And
Good. Well,
yeah,
I'm excited to see you.
yeah, me too. I'm excited to see you there as well. And of course, thank you all for joining me for this edition of Spotlight Houston.